There is nothing worse than when you spend all your time preparing your horse's super broke. You've spent time and effort into getting ready for a competition. You get into the show ring and you choke. Your mind goes blank. You don't know what you're doing. You forgot your pattern. You're sweating. All of those things. So if that's happened to you or you're worried that that's going to happen to you, listen up. Because I'm sharing with you the lowlights and strategies and things that I've learned in those low moments of how to manage your emotions and your thoughts and your time to be successful in the show pen. Welcome to the podcast straight from the horse trainer's mouth. I'm Miranda Jones, and I'm sharing with you insights from a life and a career with horses and training, over 30 years of experiences and insights to help you with your horses and your horsemanship. Hello, and we are back in the truck on the road back from the Extreme Cowgirl Challenge today. And coming to you with another podcast because I'm in the truck driving and thinking again. So I wanted to talk to you today about show prep and competition and those sort of things because it's fresh in my mind, because this was the first competition Huck and I went to this year. We tried to hit a cow horse show about a week ago, but I was sick with pneumonia, so that kind of put a damper on our travel plans. And this was a fun little local event with all the lovely ladies in our little community that do horsey things, and so it was just such a fun way to get off of the mountain, get our feet back in the show pen for the season. And there were 4 events: cutting, penning, barrel racing, and extreme trail. And I have to say, it was one of the more fun events I have done in a while. I get show nerves, even though I've been showing for a while. I get show nerves at the breed shows and sanctioned events, just like anybody. And it's always high stakes because showing in the open, there's always some tough competition and good horses out there, and so, which is a good thing. I mean, but it's a completely different thing when you can go to a local event and just freaking have some fun, and that was what I needed today. So yeah, we're talking about show prep. What do you do to get your horse ready for the show pen? I will talk about how I get my horses ready for the show pen, might get into, we'll see how long this lasts, but I might get into how I coach my youth kids get ready for the show pen too. Get a couple different perspectives there. So my biggest takeaway from this and thought about competition and showing and all of that is control your mind. It's really just, if you can control your mind, you can control your horse, and it is hard to do that in the show pen. You feel like everything is coming so fast, and you have to slow everything down and be meticulous and have that game face, along with managing your emotions for your expectations, and just if something unexpected happens, and being a good sport about failures and learning from your mistakes and moving forward and how to move on and keep going. Because if you don't manage those expectations and you have a huge letdown, it can be hard to get back into the show pen. And two, if you have a wreck or some negative experience, it's hard to get back in there. But competition is fun. It is a good way to evaluate where you and your horse are at. But then too, just with controlling that mind and managing those expectations, it is only a snapshot of who you are, what you can do, what your horse can do in a moment in time. Because of my years teaching high school and college, I think about my horse shows and scores and scorecards from a horse show a lot like I think about exams. So they can tell you some things, but they don't tell you everything. And that is the biggest thing that helps me kind of manage my expectations for a show. Because I get all worked up and get all excited and have big expectations, and man, you work so hard and put all this time and effort in, and then you still get spanked, or somebody else shows up with a better horse and it's a better day for them, and you lose even after you put in all the time and the hard work and the effort. And I mean, there's the other side of it too, is when you don't have realistic expectations of, like, if you didn't ever put in the time and the effort and the discipline and the sweat and the tears and all of that stuff. But it's a whole new level of disappointment when you really have put in the work and you still get spanked. That happened to me last summer. I put in a solid 8 months on Huck training. I kid you not, out of that 8 months, we missed maybe 4 or 5 days. Like, we rode every goddamn day, and then went to World Show and got spanked, like hard spanked. And so my first time going to World Show, I had no idea what to expect. I had never trained a horse and taken him to that level before, and I knew from my time working with my old boss, like, what good horses looked like and what the competition was like, because I'm no stranger to competing in the open. I've been competing in the open before I even knew that I had a non-pro card to give up. And so it's like one of those things that, like, I am not a stranger to how tough that competition is, but I did not expect it to be that hard of a letdown when you put in that time and effort. Huck's a good horse, but even that being said, putting all our time and effort in there, still a lot of freaking good horses, and he was as young as you can take him, and he was competing against horses that are, I mean, they're 2 and 3 years older than he was. So we really got our asses handed to us, and it was hard. I was sitting on the porch of our Airbnb, and my whole freaking family came to watch me get spanked. Oh gosh. And so anyways, sitting on the porch of my Airbnb and just trying not to choke and cry, and I was just crying. And I am not, I mean, I guess since I've had my kids, I'm more emotional, but I am pretty stone cold good at managing emotions. And I couldn't stop myself. I was so disappointed. And feel those emotions, and it was hard to keep going. It's hard to push through, but feel it. And just one foot, sometimes that's all you got to do, is one foot in front of the other. It's like, feel it, and it sucks, and it hurts, and you don't feel good, and you're not motivated, but the consistency is what matters. And that's where the controlling your mind really comes in, is, I mean, you're feeling the emotions, and then you know what you need to do next, which is just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you don't feel like it. You think you suck, you think you're bad, you think you failed, you think your horse isn't good enough, you think you're not good enough. Just keep going. Just keep moving forward. You're not going to feel it. It's not going to feel good. It's going to feel like you're compartmentalizing and being numb to get that foot pushed forward and to keep rolling. with the competition, but it's literally what you have to do in those low times of disappointment and expectations that weren't met. So there's that end of it. Then there's the other end of it, like when you are actually in the show pen, like getting the jitters. Even today, and it was like not a big event. This is like a little local deal, and it's not like we're going for cash prizes and reputation and all that stuff. It was just literally to support the people who were putting the show on and go have fun. And my heart, when we're standing and turning back for cutting and watching the first person go, my heart is racing. I freaking love cutting. I love it. It is such a rush. Huck is good at it when he's thinking, and we were pretty raw for this event. I mean, Huck he had his whole last show season under his belt, and it's his second year in the show pen. Well, I guess third altogether. So he showed the end of his 3-year-old year, then he showed like first time in the show ring, showed the end of his 3-year-old year, and then showed last year was his whole 4-year-old year, and then this year is his 5-year-old year. And so the boy is broke. Like, he knows some things now, but it's a matter of keeping him tuned up and keeping the flies out of, or breeding season, I think today, out of his head, and keeping him fresh in a good way, not fresh in like a woo, he hasn't been ridden in days and he's ate a lot of grain. Fresh in a like, he knows what he comes out of the trailer, he knows what he needs to do. And that is not what happened today. We have been riding everybody else's horses but our own, Corey and I, and that's the joke of being a professional, is that you spend so much time putting the effort into other people's horses and doing the thing that you love, training and riding, but then that a lot of the time means that you are just not having the time for your own because you got to pay bills. So that's a whole nother topic that we talk about some other day for you youngsters thinking about you want to be a horse trainer. And anyways, so Huck has not, this was his third ride since last September when he packed out an elk. He has not even been ridden really since the last time I showed him last fall. And because when we were packing, that's what he did. He packed out the elk. I didn't even ride him. And so, we have not practiced much. I took him out a couple of times just to check his buttons and make sure he remembered things. But those couple times were spread out over weeks, and I did see some things that I really did love, like his cow work when he has a chance to get warmed up and do a thing. Freaking phenomenal stops, reading his cows well, coming through that right turn because he's stiff on his right side when it comes to neck rating. Direct rein is a different deal, but he's still learning how to be broke in the bridle, and so that he hesitates on that right shoulder and it's a little stiff. And then, but the last couple times we rode, it was pretty good. I was like, hot damn, this horse can cut. And then the other great things that I was loving about, how he was coming off his winter vacation, because some horses do come off stronger. They get a chance to relax and marinate. I swear they just marinate on everything that happened to them over the last riding season, and they come back stronger. If you were riding them well and training well and just helping your horse grow and teach them things, they can come back stronger. Last season, his turns got me, his spins got me, every freaking show they got me, every freaking show. And pulled him out of the pasture and rode him in town a couple of times. And we worked on him, but when it comes to pressure time, they just would always fall apart in the show ring. And it's why we're talking about show prep and show nerves and all of that, is you got to manage those emotions. And that's a little bit why those turns were falling apart, is because of my emotions. And so anyways, those turns were so much better. I mean, you just show him where to go and cluck, and he's drilling a hole in the ground. And that was something that we could never do before. And so those were all exciting things that I was like, kind of took for granted, that he is a horse and he is young. The boy is young. He is 5 years old. It takes 2 years of consistent riding and showing before they are like what professionals, like we would say in the pro world, is broke, like ready for a non-pro to go do a thing with. And some of them take a little longer than 2 years, but like standard is 2 years of training and showing to get them solid. So if you are, this is another side topic, but if you're thinking about, oh yeah, I'm just going to go put my horse in training for 30 days, woo, and I'm going to have myself a competitor. No. That's a good way to get spanked. So it's another topic for another day. But so, and I took this for granted too. I did, and I know this. So we go down and I'm there, I'm thinking I'm running late, and I was actually ended up being 15 minutes early, so that was wonderful. And we go and we walk through, just took him out of the trailer with a halter and walk through, and it was more for me to see how he was reacting. And so that's one thing on managing your emotions, is it's like anything else that you do that takes an intense amount of focus. Give yourself time to work through the paces and be prepared. Okay, so I like being at the show before the show management gets there. I do. There are some trainers that will go in the middle of the night and work on their things the night before. I am more of the go to bed early, wake up early, and do it in the morning before anybody shows up, because then I'm there. I can get it out of my system. And I'm at the show. I don't have to go home and take a pause and then come back. Like, the not being at the show part is what gets my nerves going. So, and that's, know yourself. Try it. Just go the night before and see if you work on some things the night before, and then show up on time and see how you feel. Or just get to bed early, wake up early, and go before everybody else gets there and see how you feel. And that's something, a little personal preference there. And that's just how I am. I like to be at the show when I'm ready to compete and not get interrupted. The doing things the night before doesn't do me any good, because then all I'm basically doing is thinking about, now I have to leave and I have to come back, and what can go wrong in between that time period of me leaving that night, going to sleep, and trying to get there and be back the next morning. So it's just, once I'm there, I need to be there and get it done. So that's my own personal preference. So I just walked him out of the trailer. We walked around, and for me at this point, I just want to see what my horse is doing. What is he thinking? How is he carrying himself? Is he upset by the extreme trail course obstacles? Because a lot of that stuff he had never seen before in his life. The little merry-go-round, which was freaking cool. So they had to push this metal bar on their chest around in a circle, and it was fun. It was cool. And then there was a waterfall. So it was basically an arch with a tarp that was cut into like slivers, and you had to walk through it. Then there's like your pool noodles. One was like set up so that they're horizontal and you have to walk through them. One was set up on the ground and they're vertical and you have to walk through them. All things Huck has never seen before. He's never seen a pool noodle in his life. Hula hoops, he's never seen a hula hoop. There was hula hoops there. The one thing that was so fun that Huck has never seen it, but I had a lot of experience with, is there was a broom that you had to push into a turned over can. There was a beach ball that you had to use a broom and push into this can, which was hearkening back to my polo days. And I was just tickled pink because I have not touched my racket, my polo cross days, my racket or my ball. I haven't touched those things since before I met my husband. But I love that. I love playing polocrosse. I don't do it anymore. And so that was super fun, and I was way excited about it. Walking through the course, breathing, taking in the sights and the sounds, and just taking mental inventory of myself and my horse. Okay, so then we work through some of the obstacles. I show them the things, and we walk back to the trailer, and we start the show prep. So show prep is grooming my horse, putting the saddle on, putting his boots on, feeding him his grain, getting myself ready, making sure I've got the right equipment and shoes and all those things. So, and that is like a little meditation for me, honestly, is I can, after I get my feet on the course for a second, evaluate where my mind is at, where my horse's mind is at, then I can, it's like almost therapeutic for me to go through and do all of that. And so that's a thing too, to know how you want to run your day and manage your day. It takes some time to think about like what feels good to you and how you want that schedule to go. Some people, maybe they like to do all their grooming and stuff the night before or a day before and use the slinky thing to keep their horse's mane nice. That stresses me out. I can't do that, but there are some people who do like to do that. And that's a thing that you kind of need to think about, know, and experiment with. I like the morning of, like I said, getting out, walking around, it helps me get in tune with my horse. It helps me relax. I don't eat when I compete. It just makes me want to puke. So another thing to note, you can't just I've kind of learned over the years on not getting headaches and dehydrated and that sort of thing. So electrolytes and water and stuff is important, but I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat throughout the day. My nerves cannot handle food in my stomach. So there's another thing. People they're trying to take care of me and help me out. And so if you are around me and you listen to this and you're like, why doesn't she ever want to it's not anything personal. It's just because I don't want to puke on you, my horse, in the middle of my run. I just can't do it. Okay, so then maybe that means you eat the night before so that you do have energy and you are taken care of that way. Or you drink so this is what I do. I drink drinks that have calories and things in them so that my body's not depleted, because you have to use your brain a lot when you're in that heightened state. And so I make sure I have my drinks and do my thing. Okay, now get it ready to roll, and we are ready to get on the horse finally. Whew. Okay, so little meditation, my mind's right, my horse is comfortable, and now we're getting in the arena. So I go in the arena, and here is what I do for Huck, because it works for Huck. And it's different from some horses. They need something different, and it depends on the horse. Huck needs to just lope some circles and not be touched. I try not to steer him very much. I try not to give him very many cues other than you're going to a big circle or a big oval around the arena to the right, in the right lead. If you're going in a big oval to the left or big circle to the left lead. That's as simple as it is. I hold my reins down, I touch his neck, freaking wrap a piece of mane around my finger and hand on his neck as much as I can, just to let him stretch out and get that blood pumping, and not let myself start nitpicking him in the warm-up. That's the main thing. You can ruin your competition day by starting to nitpick your horse out of nerves in the warm-up. Your horse doesn't know what is at stake today. Your horse does not know that there is money, reputation, time, expectations, all of those things, pride. Your horse don't know. He's just like, you took me somewhere, let's do a thing. Okay, so I try to keep myself away from handling my horse too much and just let them get their blood pumping. I want the freshies out. I don't need my horse bucking and farting. And there was a couple, so the shadow on the light pole in the arena, and he's not a spooky horse, but that got him 3 times. We're loping around the arena, and every time he came across the shadow, he's, oh shit, and he eyeballs it, and he jumps sideways. And that is exactly why we were in there before everybody else, so that it's quiet. I am not panicked that there's a bunch of eyeballs on me. I can work through this situation without getting flustered. He has a chance to work through his own emotions without getting flustered and having other horses around. I mean, he's a little stud horse. He's still pretty. I mean, he has 2 breeding seasons under his belt, and he has been in public a lot, but he's fresh off of this, his first time in public off breeding season, and so that takes a minute for him to switch gears there. And so he's got a chance to work through that stuff without other horses being around and being distracted by breeding season and all of those things. So control your mind, know how your mind works, plan your day to keep the nerves out and give yourself a chance not to be nervous. So if I had shown up late and I didn't get a chance to do that with my horse and I couldn't walk him through the course, I could have muscled through, but it would have been a lot of ripping on Huck's mouth to get him to pay attention and spurring him in the belly to discipline, tell him, no, you can't sniff, and whinny and all of those things. That is not the kindest way to set my horse up for success, number one. And then number 2, I mean, then it's just all discipline and there is no being successful, because all I'm doing is beating him up for being bad when he wasn't set up to succeed to begin with. So that is a big deal when it comes to show, is just knowing how you operate, knowing how your horse operates, so that you can manage that time well. So we got him rode down, everything was great, and finally people are starting to show up. And so I go to the show office, take care of things, entries, everything else. Everybody else is getting on their horses, and now I can get on my horse. Like, I got to socialize and things, which takes the edge off for me, and then get to look through my pattern, memorize my pattern, and go for it. So preparation and knowing yourself, and that side of it, controlling your mind, and you can control your horse. That is the biggest thing, so that you can have that control over your mind. If you get situated and you give yourself the time to do it, set your day up for success, give yourself time, be prepared, those sort of things. So the other thing, just physically, because I was telling you earlier that even I did all these things to make myself prepared, and I was aware and all of that, and then I'm turning back for the first person who's cutting, and my heart is just through the roof because I love it. Deep breaths. So learn how to breathe well. Belly breathing. So where you are pushing your diaphragm down to get that breath in. It's not like you're expanding your chest cavity. It's belly, like literally belly breathing. You're opening up, your lung is creating a vacuum, and you're sucking the air in because you're pushing your diaphragm down. And that helps, that deep breathing and being methodical about the breathing will bring that heart rate down. It will physically force your heart rate to slow down. And that is the number 2 thing, besides controlling your mind by setting up your day right so that you're not panicked and frantic and prone to being nerves and jerky and frustrated and flustered. The next physical thing you can do, because those, when you get excited, those butterflies start coming. When you're uncertain, those butterflies are there. And belly breathe. So feel those butterflies, start breathing. And it takes time and practice to start to figure out how to breathe like that. But even when you are training at home and you're practicing at home, when you're riding your horse around, practice belly breathing when you're riding. Because the other side of this, and this is, I tell my lessons folks this too, is like, when you're breathing, and if you breathe right, roll those shoulders back deep, breathe in your belly, that's going to help your posture when you're riding as well. Like, that forces your spine and your shoulders over your hip and your spine to be straight, and helps you to stay centered and balanced on your horse. So if you're breathing right, because if you've got your shoulders hunched forward and you're scared and you're in the fetal position, your lungs are collapsed and your spine is arched, and you can't force your diaphragm down. So when you force those shoulders back and make your abdomen long because your spine is straight, then you have the capacity to push that diaphragm down, fill those lungs by sucking in the air and creating that vacuum. And then that puts you in the most balanced, centered position to be riding your horse anyways. So practice that. Practice that. If you get good posture and you can breathe deep on your horse, you are 90% of the way there. Now, after all of this, is be forgiving to your horse, like I said. So third thing, so the first thing was control your mind. The second thing was physically control your breathing to control those butterflies that are just going to come. The third thing is forgive your horse. And I said this before, he does not know what's at stake today. You pulled him out of the pasture and you loaded him up and you decided to come, and it's for you and your thing and your money and your reputation and all the things. He has no clue what's going on. If he likes his job, he's just going to enjoy the things that you guys do together. And what's the worst way to ruin that is to beat him up for something he doesn't understand. So today, even Huck, I told you his right side is horrible, like it's stiff. He has trouble on that right side, and he's not broken the bridle. And we had a tough, sticky, sour cow. And in the cutting, when we had to turn to the right, because I didn't prepare him. I didn't check that gear. I have not spent the last couple of months working on that right side to know that he wasn't going to hesitate on that side. And because I know that he does. He did it all last season. And I should have taken the time to prepare him for that. And so, even though we had a couple real ugly moments where we're trying to turn to the right and he's not turning, and I can't help him because it's the show pin and I have to one-hand him, and I cannot cheat that rein anymore without getting penalized. And all I can use is the cues that I have available, and I can't provide any more clarity to him. And a couple ugly moments, like he did not know where to go with that, and he saw the cow come around his hind end out of the left eye, and I'm telling him to turn right, and he's saying, "Mom, the cow's on my left eye, I need to go." And I'm telling him, if you turn to the left right now, we get a turn tail and get disqualified. And then he rears up, and he reared up 2 or 3 times, and now we're in it. We're in the thick of it. It's like, I told you freaking right, we got to go right, son. And I can't give up, because that's part of training. If we get that deep into that miscommunication and I give up then and tell him, "Oh yeah, sure, okay, you had a fit, now let's go left." Now I just trained him that when he hesitates and when he has a question and he doesn't understand, yeah, just go left, rear up and then go left. So luckily for me, my buzzer went off right at that moment, so I was able to bring his 2 feet back on the ground, and then I can teach him a little bit on that. This is what I meant. Grab that rein with the direct rein and go to the right, go to the right. And we did. We addressed it a few times throughout the day of go to the right, go to the right, go to the right. And that could have been a moment where I get super frustrated and, you dumb son of a bitch, and just go drill him. And I'm not saying that I wasn't, had a firm boundary and, how to turn to the right. but I'm also not gouging his sides. I'm not getting worked up over something that could have been prevented in preparation. So keep that perspective. Know your horse and know where his weaknesses are. And if you did not spend the time on that weakness to make it stronger for him, you do not get to beat him up when he makes a mistake. And I would even argue most days and most times, most situations, don't beat your horse up for a miscommunication or a mistake, because then you just teach him to be afraid to try and afraid of mistakes. And then that's how you get a spooky, unpredictable horse, is when they're getting beat up for uncertainty. When they're asking, I don't know what to do, I think this is what I should do, don't beat them up. That's when you need to slow down, bring it back to basics, and show them the foundation that they have. Not a time to beat them up for something that they're questioning and uncertain about. Okay, so there's the 3 things that I would say for show prep, and then I can give you a routine sometime of like actually how do like the 30 minutes that I spend riding my horse in the show pen. We could do that sometime, but 3 big things that I care about on show day: control my mind through the schedule that I set for myself. Then the second one would be to breathe deep when those butterflies come, because they're gonna, if you have any skin in the game, the butterflies are gonna be there. Breathe deep. Okay, belly breathe. Don't just open up your lungs. Push that diaphragm down. Create that vacuum. Belly breathe. Okay, that will force your heart rate to slow down. Then the third one is to forgive your horse. He doesn't know what's going on. I even go as far as like Huck's first few goes in the show pen, I knew that I was going to be rusty, and I knew that he was young and new and a stud horse. I knew that it wasn't going to be the most aggressive or competitive way to show him. A snaffle bit would have been the one where I could have given the most clarity and really grabbed a hold and been really firm. I could have done that in a snaffle bit, but I knew that I was rusty and that I was out of practice with managing my nerves and my mind. And I knew that he was new and young. So I chose the first few times to show him in a Bozal, and I knew that was going to put us behind because we were going to make some goofs, because it wasn't going to be as controlling for me. But that was the exact reason why I did it, was because I needed to let my horse have some grace, because he's young and he's new and he's distracted, and I was old and rusty. So forgive your horse. There's always going to be another show day. Like I said before, it is a snapshot of time and evaluation of how the two of you work together and what you know and what you need to work on. It's a snapshot. There are even days where you put in all the work, and you know what? Maybe there is the weather and the pressure is changing. Your horse woke up on the wrong side of the bed. You woke up on the wrong side. There are other things outside of your preparation that can affect how things go on in that show pen. And it is not your horse's fault. So give him some grace. Give him some grace. Those are the 3 things for show prep. All right, folks, we are almost home, and we will talk to you on the next road trip. Next time we're in the truck thinking about things after we ride horses. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to my podcast. I hope you found it helpful, whether it was inspirational, motivational, or informative. That's what I'm here for, is to share my years of experience to help you with your horses and your horsemanship. If you have a specific topic that you want to hear me talk about the next time I'm on the road, connect with me on Instagram at mjonesequine. Until next time, have a great ride.